Something about a project of an open focus that thinks about the relationship between topicality and lexicality. In 18th century formats of anthologies, commonplaces, indexes, and also periodic studies in the forms of the excerpt and selection, and how topics and ideas are here in the space. So the network focus is a tool that maps topic model output alongside a text so that you can navigate a body of text or a run of periodically based on topics that appear in it. Topic modeling is a sort of vogue thing in visual communities right now. It refers to a probabilistic model that groups words together that appear near one each other in a body of text. So that words that repeatedly appear together are grouped as a topic and are thought to refer to some type of singular idea. So an example here is in the scientific article in Gene, DNA, versus Genetics. Digital humanists, a common use of topic modeling has been to think about sort of distant reading approaches to literature. For example, mapping the network relations between topics that appear in a group of texts over a certain period, or looking at how particular single or a couple topics change in the prevalence in the body of literature over time, such as topics that refer to, for example, novels of sensibility in the late 18th century, how those change, rise, and fall in the period. However, I'm actually trying to use this algorithm to inflect a kind of close reading, to think about how the topic has a longer history that was actually quite important, I think, in the 18th century, and its transformation as the topic from a rhetorical term as topos, as storehouse of shared arguments and tropes be used in composing oratory, to having its sort of modern significance as the subject. A critical text for this is John Locke's new method of commonplace books, which gives commonplace books indices based on their heads, and suggests this idea of sort of grouping passages together based on what the topics they refer to. Another sort of classic example of sort of how these appear in the 18th century are these Shakespeare or other anthologies, especially that start to appear more following the landmark decision of Donaldson v. Beckett that ends perpetual copyright in 1773. So there's a way to think about this plan about how we sort of select excerpts and how we sort of think about what expert stands for, how it represents a larger text. I think there's a clear connection between these concerns and Leah Price and Rising Novel Anthologies, especially, and Blair thinking about information overload in the early modern period is also thinking about these finding devices. But I think there's a really interesting connection with periodic studies and how we approach periodicals because they are a sort of location of so many different genres and topics that are sort of juxtaposed side by side. I'm started just working with a sort of basic example of The Spectator, which also received this anthologized treatment organized by topical headings. And so we can look at the actual site network corpus and see how moving through it based on this topical method raises interesting questions. So we have here just the organization based on spectator numbers, but we can also navigate the text based on topic. And just by sort of a quick glance at some of the top topics for the spectator, it can show you how the problem of interpreting topic models is an interesting one. From something here that seems, topic one, that seems to make some sense, fame, glory, action, ambition, noble, to topic three, which seems to indicate something different, largely referring to Italian words that appear in the Spectator's discussion of Italian opera. However, in addition to just these that are sort of radically different in kind, I think there are some really interesting topics that sort of yield to interpretive pressure in interesting ways. So, for example, if we jump to a particular issue, and we go to Spectator 104, we also see the top topics for this document. This topic, dress type fashion, is an interesting one because all the words in this topic refer to items of fashion, but ones that are not neither male, masculine, or feminine. If we look at other hot topics in the text, beauty, face, beautiful, eye, breathing, there seems to be a clear sort of association, either women or men. These two obviously referring to sort of discussions of women. However, on the other hand, we have in the same one talking about virtue and some sort of masculine values of the spectator. So we return to this topic. We can actually look at where it appears in the text in an interesting way. So here we have a density curve showing where it becomes most popular. And in this letter written to the Spectator, we see a description of a hunting party or a party of horsemen that rides by, where the describer actually can't recognize what this person is. At first, he believes it's a fair youth from a description in a romance. Describes powdered wig, scarlet ribbon, coat and waistcoat. But as the person approaches, he believes that turns to believe that is actually a woman who deceived him. His features have and at the end, he concludes that he's not sure whether this was a very handsome youth or, in reality, an indifferent woman. So this becomes this rare moment, this interesting moment when this topic that sort of captures discussions of fashion in women actually is referring to a space, moment where there's an ambiguity or sort of androgyny, mixtures, these perplexities, and mixtures addressed that the letter writer refers to. It says, the model of this Amazonian hunting habit for ladies, as I take it, first imported from France and well enough expresses the gaiety of people who are taught to do anything with insurance. I cannot think it yet awkwardly. It says awkwardly on our English modesty. And so we have this interesting moment of discussion of fashion in the period. But then we can sort of navigate it based on how it appears in other issues. Here we have a description of the seeds, principles of effective dress, not listening to and once again, this is a moment of interesting ambiguity. To speak truly, the young people of both sexes are so wonderfully apt to shoot out long swords receiving trains, bushy headdresses, full-body periods, with several other encumbrances of dress that stand in need to be approved, frequently also repressed ornaments that overrun the luxuriancy of their habits, and much deference are bold as almost such redundancies. If we jump to another one, Spectator 50, I think we have another instance in this with a very different context. A letter describing Indian women who wear their hair differently and have black spots on their faces. Describing the account of the abstract of the Chanel 175. We have a moment discussion of how certain fashions, masculine and feminine, get sort of moved from the court to public. And this is interesting because at the end of The Spectator, the writer Jack Modish proposes that there is actually a society erected the inspections of mode and fashion for both sexes, something to sort of address this problem of ambiguity, sexual and gender ambiguity that appears throughout the text. This concern of how a centralized source might be capable of doing this. And it's just a funny moment in where there's a problem of actually thinking through the Spectator.